Natasha, hi, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hi, yes, thank you for having me. It's afternoon here, but nevertheless, nice to see ya.
Can you please introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and what you do and where they can find you?
Yes, so my name is Natasha Randolph. I am the founder of Psychic Medium Natasha LLC, and I offer private sessions with my clients, both virtual and in office, where we do readings, Reiki healing, and mentoring. And you can find me online on my website, www.psychicmediumnatasha.com.
So, do you call yourself a witch?
Absolutely. 1,000%.
What does that mean? When you say that word, yes, that's who or slash what I am. What does that mean to you?
So for me, I identify as a pagan eclectic witch specifically. So for me, identifying as a pagan witch, I think of I am someone who likes to honor and live in sync with the cycles of like nature and like what's happened astrologically. I feel that it's important as a witch to utilize the elements and the powers that is around us, whether that's the crystals, the herbs, the land spirits, where we're just in harmony and tapping into that. I feel like that's what a witch is.
And do you have a daily practice? Anything that you'll share with us?
Oh my gosh, I love this. So it varies, depending on what I'm getting into. I definitely feel like witchcraft is always evolving, absolutely. But currently, I've been more so celebrating the Sabbats as a pagan, but mostly consistently, I've been celebrating the solstices and the equinoxes for certain, because sometimes life gets busy. I also keep a personal altar. That situation always changes depending on the spring cleaning of it all and like what I'm doing. But typically, I like to give offerings for like my spirit team. Occasionally, I'll clear that space off to do like any workings for me, whether that's like energy work or manifestation or anything like that. Um, but it just always changes just depending on what I'm learning or what I feel drawn to as a witch.
Can you tell us what your altar is like? You don't have to,
No,
because I know that's
yeah.
a lot to ask.
Yeah, like it changes because at one point I had like an actual like corner like dedicated for this, and then at one point I had like a travel altar, and then right now it's currently like I have like a little shelf space, not like a bookshelf where it's like hardback, but it's like an open shelf. And the different levels, the top level is like my working area. The level below that is sort of like where I keep like my quick little tools and stuff that I may need to grab. And then underneath that's like supplies or like inventory. So the top part is usually like I'll have like something to represent each of the elements: earth, air, fire, water. And then I also like to keep like like a little clear quartz sphere up there, and my selenite like giant aphmate. It's almost like a sword, honestly. And I keep those always up there just because I'm like always gravitating to those the most. So I guess I just try to keep it more so like cleansed. And if I need to renew any offerings, then I'll do that. But for the most part, I just try to make sure it's like a clear space. So if I feel a download or a need to do something, either for me or my spirit team, or just to put like an intention out there, I have that space to be able to do so.
That's cool. I had to move mine because we're redoing our living room. So right now I have like one tiny little shelf. So I'm interested in hearing what other people are doing with theirs. I like that three-tiered working tools and storage though.
Yeah, because it worked like it's, like it's safe space, safe space. And then you also can dedicate each thing to a shelf. I remember at one point I used to have three altars on one like tall shelf where each like little tier or like little level was its own thing. So like I said, it definitely depends on like the spring cleaning of all like of and then like what I'm into, but the altar space definitely changes as we move and what's going on for sure.
That makes sense. So what would you say is the biggest motivator in your practice, and how does it contrast with your biggest struggle?
mm. I think my biggest motivator into my witchcraft practice is finding something that feels like I'm remembering something or excites me, because I feel like it's like those little nudges where your soul's calling you home, and I love finding those moments, whether it's like a new tool that's not really new but new to you, and all these little things. And I would say a little obstacle when it comes to the witchcraft is kind of the social stuff about it. Like, it's not even about meeting peers that are interested. It's more so about the ones that are spiritually curious, and they're like deep into their spiritual egos, and they're like so sure and so certain, you know what I mean? So sometimes it can feel a little like, oh God, there's the baby witches. They're over here trying to represent, and they're like so confident, like dispelling random information where they're not even sure that's even a closed practice
And
or whatever. And I'm
rigid.
like, yeah. And I'm like, oh God, okay, you're one of those. All right. Yeah. So spiritual bypassing and all of that. So that could be a challenge within the craft itself, is like when you try to put yourself out there or have like certain communal events and things. But the actual practice itself, I think, is a very personal, exciting journey.
That's cool. So speaking of tools, we were talking about that earlier a little bit. What is your favorite tool? And it doesn't actually have to be a physical thing. Like my favorite tool is my entire jewelry studio because I do a lot of magic in there.
Oh,
What's yours?
okay. So I've actually been recently getting into this because lately I've been trying to go deeper into the things that feel more soul essence, of like me and what I like. So lately I've realized that like the tools that, if I lost everything else, I'm like, okay, I really would use these for life and pass them down as heirlooms. It would probably be my copper pyramid. I have a small one that goes on my head, and I have a big one I can sit in. Those, oh my God, they changed my life. I cannot stop talking about copper pyramids. So copper pyramids, and then I have a selenite, a giant selenite, like almost like sword. I use that for cleansing my own aura and then my space. And then sometimes when I'm doing like a client house blessings and cleansings and things like that. So those are like my favorite tools, I would say, is the copper pyramid and like I guess my crystals, because I use those like so often or regularly. Yeah.
I want to veer away from the usual questions I ask for a minute.
Okay.
What kind of things do you do for your clients?
Yeah. So my role is a professional psychic medium. I'm a certified and trained Usui Reiki master, and I also like to like teaching. So I offer different types of readings, Reiki healing sessions, and then I like to do private mentoring with my clients so that we can get basically just dive deep into, okay, what makes sense for you based on like where you're at, your unique needs, your blockages, and we can just make it make sense for like what works best for you. No fluff, no gatekeeping, and let's just help you get from point A to point B. Because I collaborate with other people's spirit teams to basically help them gain that clarity, that guidance, that healing that will help them like best empower themselves and evolve in their spiritual practice and dive deep into their healing. So that's like the type of work I mostly work into with my clients, whether it's like local or international, because I have those too.
That's super different from my own practice, so I like hearing about how it works for other people. What's something you wish was discussed more in the magical community?
I will talk about this until I'm blue in the face. Spiritual hygiene is so overlooked, gate kept, and overrated, where it's just not as common knowledge and mainstream as it should be. I feel like that should be a foundation of, regardless of whatever religious, spiritual practice or background you are into. It's not I feel like it's not common knowledge for people how to tend to their own energy, how to keep that clear, grounded, protected, where they're feeling their absolute best. I feel like people don't know what that means or how to go about it. And then they're sold on all these like different tools and stuff instead of just the practice or intention itself. That's something I wish was more out there. It's definitely spiritual hygiene. Absolutely.
Do you have any recommendations, like quick ones that you can throw out to new people?
Absolutely. Just, I would say, in this exact order: ground, cleanse, shield, and raise your vibration. When you are doing these things as a daily practice, we are basically making the intention of, I'm open to this and not that. Because when you are not being intentional with your energy, you're basically so open and on autopilot. You're basically like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'm open for anything. And that will leave you open to people influencing you, attaching to you, and draining you. So I feel like when we are making that active, intentional choice to be present and intentional with ourselves and who has access to us, then we can say yes, no, maybe some of that. And that's how I feel like it should be.
Cool, thanks. Nice. That's not how I imagined you were going to say it, but thanks.
Yeah, just short,
I
sweet, to
usually
the
do more
point.
physical things. I do things more physically than that. Like I
So
have
I,
physical barriers that I tell, okay, you're going to do this for me, or ask more than
oh,
the way you're
well, I
talking about it. So I like hearing different ways.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, people, they may, like, when they hear it, they're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But, like, people's idea about it, it's like they think it must be complicated, or they have no idea, or they're just not doing it at all. It's just, it's crazy and sad in a way, I think.
Yeah, and protecting yourself, y'all, especially right now, is important.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about community a little bit. Now, I have a really big online community, and I'm in the process of developing a local community where I actually talk to people near me, especially right now because things are kind of scary in this country, especially with like Palantir getting into all our personal business. So I think sometimes it's safer for us to develop local community, even our neighbors, even whether we get along with them or not. Because if like something like the depression hits, maybe we can't afford the internet. Maybe we have to rely on people close to us. So have you taken any steps to develop local community? And if so, what are they? And can you give resources to the listeners?
Wow, I love this question because whether you're solitary or not, I think it's important to at least connect with community and know what is relevant to that. But yeah, like for me, after I was 18, I started looking into what the local scene was here. And I'm basically based in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I realized that there is a lot of local metaphysical and even witchy shops to spread out the different cities in my area. So it blew my mind because before I was 18, I was like, oh, I'm alone. They're not here. And then I realized I was 18. I was actually able to go out and I was like, oh no, we're just sprinkled. We're sprinkled around, but we're here. And then I started looking online, like beyond just the Google to see like, if there's any other ways to reach people around me. And then I found Facebook groups. For me, that was a game changer because a lot of the witchy community will post their like events and stuff in the groups, or they'll just post like, just so that all the witches can gather. So I have looked into that within my local space. And when they post their events, I do attend like their celebrations. There's even some shops here local to me that have like moon circles or drum circles or little, like little events where we can, come together for free and just like celebrate like a specific time or a specific intention that we could do or whatever. So that's what I've looked within the local. Beyond that, I have been building my own community just to kind of create that sacred space where I would say empaths, witches, and healers can more so have that conversation of, hey, I want to teach you this or share this, or, and for me, that's more so of like my social media. So I like to post content where I'm basically either sharing or just teaching spiritual stuff for like, them to know or for them to practice and implement for themselves. For my YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and TikTok. That's primarily what I'm using.
Well, thanks for that. Those are really good ideas. I like that. So let's think about the three biggest influences on your practice. So it doesn't have to be people. It can also be like a pet or a book or like a song you heard once, whatever. Think of the three biggest influences on your practice and then thank them for how they influence you and your practice.
Honestly, the first thing I want to acknowledge for me was my spirit team, because when I got started in witchcraft, I wasn't starting it for the purpose of like, oh, I want to like do spell. Like that wasn't my way of getting into it. I wanted answers for why I was having certain experiences, for being a psychic medium. Like at the time I didn't know that, but I was like, why am I having these experiences? Like no one's talking about this. Like what? And I found like through spirit literally guiding me and leading me towards the crap. I was like, oh wait, I'm able to do this. And this means this. And I was like, okay, wow. So like that for me, like that changed my life literally for like who I am, what I'm doing, and making sense of it all. So my spirit team, absolutely, thank you so much for like letting me know what was within my ability to do for myself and what was around me to be able to do so. Another big factor honestly was Amethyst. Okay, Amethyst was my first ever, I would call it my power crystal, because it was not just a way to like calm and ease the mind and strengthen my intuition, but also protect my energy. And that really made me feel safe to really explore witchcraft and to really claim being a witch. So, absolutely, thank you, Amethyst, for just being able to help me be able to ease into that. And then I would say the last factor would be my Reiki master teacher. Her name is Teresa Lynn. She has a local business here called Emerald Healing Arrow. And basically, she really changed the trajectory of my witchcraft because she really helped me find literally healing and guidance for my healing journey. And then I eventually went under training with her to become my own Reiki master. And eventually I'll be learning from her to be a Reiki master teacher so I can teach and certify other healers to do Reiki. But she just changed my life because when you are doing witchcraft, I feel like shadow work absolutely goes hand in hand. You can't do certain things in your witchcraft practice if you are not confronting your own shadows and traumas and wounds, because that's going to be bleeding into other areas of your life. And like, yeah, so those are the three most influential things for me in my witchcraft for sure.
I love that you thank the crystal. I
Yeah,
think I've
because the
only had one other
crystals,
person do that.
because I see crystals and plants as spirits. Like I really do. I hear their consciousness. I can feel what is like what they're absorbing. I can feel that. And I think it blew my mind when I first did, because at first I was like, oh yeah, like a tree is alive. But then when you actually start hearing back, you're like, oh, you're like really alive. And it like kind of scares you at first. But yeah, Amethyst, I felt like was like leading me home. I felt like led me feel safe because at first, when I was first getting into the craft, the spirits were loud and they were so in my face. I was like, I cannot focus. I'm so scattered. I am terrified. Like, what do I do? And Amethyst was like, here you go. Wear me, charge me, cleanse me, program me for an intention and wear, and you'll be good. So that really changed everything.
This is super different from what I interact with. I don't have any sort of spiritual connection that it sounds like you do. But a lot of guests say that they actually initially think they're going crazy if they have the same sort of, I don't know, skill, talent, I don't know what to call it, that you do, that they're like, whoa, I thought I was going crazy at first, and then I talked to more people and they said, hey, maybe look into this. So that's interesting for me.
Yeah, unfortunately, I hear that a lot too. And then they find me, and then I'm the one that's like, "Oh no, this is what that means. You're good. Do this." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, like you just made it sound so simple, and here I am." And I'm like, "I know, right? Update me."
So now that you've seen what it's like to talk to me and who I am as a person and what the questions are like, who do you think would be interesting for me to have on the show?
Hmm. Honestly, all I keep thinking in the top of my mind is a personal witch I know because there's a there's like a witch colleague I would call them. I'm gonna call them my witch colleague that I know of where I feel like they're still in their bubble. And I feel like you're the person where you have this warmth, you can kind of thaw that outer shell from people. That I feel like that could really be refreshing for this individual. Um, yeah, the one in my mind is called Fire Lotus Witch. Occasionally, I will refer clients that are looking to spell work because I do not offer that as a witch. My witchcraft is mine. But sometimes some clients are like, okay, do you have a trusted practitioner? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I have a few. So that's what comes to my mind is like that specific individual because I feel like they're so closed off in that shell that they're kind of keeping themselves limited and small in that way. So that's where my mind goes.
Put us in touch.
Okay,
Everybody, if
yeah. Fire
I have,
yeah.
if people identify as a witch, I'm super interested in having them on a show.
Okay, yeah. I will definitely reach out because I feel like this might be a good opportunity to get them out their shell and maybe just connect with other witches because they're heavy into like that spell work and like that stuff for like community and stuff. But for me, I like to keep that personal.
Yeah, I don't really do work for other people
I
unless
tried,
it's
and I'm gonna
group
let you
work, but
know.
then I'm working with other people.
Well, for me, I realized at the beginning of me coming out here being professional, like, okay, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. At first, I actually did offer spell work. And then you know what I realized? I realized I was attaching my name and energy for people that basically wanted like these little quick, like, manifest a lover
Love
or help me
spells.
sell or money or like this business, you know what I mean? And I'm like, you know what? I want y'all to do I was like, I'm not wanting to do this. This doesn't feel good to me. I feel like and then they'll be mad because spirit's literally like, oh hell no, you're not about to bless them and like they're this is
They got to
needed
do the
for
work
them. That's
themselves.
that's what I'm saying. Like spirit basically started coming to me being like, they actually need this and you're taking this away from them. And I'm like, oh damn. So then I was like, okay, you know what? Witchcraft's gonna be for me. I don't mind sharing information. Like, okay, you want to try this? Here's what I know. Here's a list. Do what works or feels best to you. But I will not go out my way to do that unless I feel called. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, okay, I just feel like I want to do this for you, or I feel like spirit's leading me to do this. That's something else. But for me, just be like, okay, here's X amount of dollars to do this. No more. Mm-mm. They wanted money
100%.
and they wanted money and fuck
100%.
shit, and I'm just like, no, I'm not doing that.
Did you say fuck shit?
Yes, that's what they wanted. They were asking for trifling stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm not here to
That's my
judge,
favorite way to
but
term it.
That's what I call it. I'm like,
Okay,
this
I have
is
not heard a
no.
term use that. I haven't heard that term used that way before. Okay, that is, I like that quite a bit. Yeah, I'll say like, this is how I do it. This is what I do. Find your own way. Here's an example.
Mhm.
Well, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask? Or is there anything cool happening with you that you want people to come visit? Or did you have any questions for me?
Absolutely. So, what I want to share is what's happening going on. So, for all people that are listening to this, interested, that want to work with me, right now I have a promo going on where all first time clients, they get 25% off of all my services. If you use the code new client, you go on my website, psychicmediumnatasha.com, put in that code, and at checkout, it will knock off the price, 25% off discount if you've never worked with me. So get into that. And then another thing that's happening is I recommend going on my website and signing up for my email list, because this summer I am starting to offer classes. I'm going to call them master classes because I want it to be boom, packed, bam, value in your face, where it's like, okay, you learn how to do this and then you're able to apply it and use it forever. So that's what we're getting into. Like I said, psychicmediumnatasha.com, and you won't miss it.
There will be a link, so make sure you check show notes. So the last two things that I ask, thing number one, please recommend something. It doesn't have to be witch related at all. Just whatever you cool thing you found this week that you're into, that you'd be like, call your best friend and say, hey, I forget people do it like this now. Hey, try this cool thing. What is it?
Okay, yes. So this is something I actually realized recently within my, like, me doing my own channeling work, working with spirit. So I realized a lot of time, spirit, when you're trying to connect with the spirit, it's not really about like the tools and stuff, but sometimes like when you do it consistently or like back to back days, you can absolutely feel drained. Like when you're trying to connect with spirit or channeling, it's just very draining, even if you're not like on my level. Like even just doing cards or any type of divination, connecting with spirit back to back, it's almost like building a tolerance. It can become very tiring. So I realized that if you wear certain metals, like when you wear gold and copper jewelry especially, it like allows you, like it helps with channeling, I've noticed. But also beyond just wearing copper or gold jewelry, you can also use water. Water is a conduit. Water is also like a portal. It can amplify and be a bridge. So I like to use water basically as like that bridge where it's like, okay, spirit, you can take energy from this. Try your best not to siphon and drain the crap out of me. Like this will be easier for both of us. You can have this, So I find that if you keep a bowl or cup or cauldron and of water and speak your intention of, okay, this is dedicated to my spirit team, this is going to amplify my connection with my spirit team, thank you, and then you keep it there, or maybe put your feet in a bucket of water as you're channeling, you'll be surprised how ease it feels when those downloads come, because it doesn't feel like you're trying so hard. It feels very much like, okay, let me have a clear intention, let me focus on my target, and then open my mind, and then these start pouring in. So I find that copper jewelry, gold jewelry, and using water is great for spirit work. Absolutely.
That's cool. I'm going to self promote a little bit. I got copper
Okay.
jewelry on my website.
Yeah, there you go. There
Just go
you
check that
go.
out. Yeah, I don't usually get a chance to do that. So the last thing that I ask is, please tell me a story. It can be a story that you really love from childhood, or what I really love is when it's a story from your life where something ridiculous happens, and when you go to hang out with people that you've known for a long time, you're like, remember that time when something happened? Those
Oh
stories I
my
love.
gosh.
But if it's just a story you love from childhood, that's okay too.
Okay, so this is both. This is a ridiculous
Yeah.
story from childhood that is witch related. Okay, so when I started my witchcraft practice, I was 8. Okay, I was 7 years old when I discovered my gifts, but then I got actually into like the learning and practicing of witchcraft at 8. So that was like the early, like the start. So I think I was like fourth or fifth grade. Okay, and when I first started getting into it, I started telling, well, I had like three other girlfriends at school in my class. And I was like, okay, I'm going to tell them. At first, I wasn't even scared. I was just thinking, I kind of want to see how they react. So I told one friend, which was like the popular, like, leader of out of all of them. I was like, okay, I do this. And then she was like, oh my gosh, I do this too. And I'm like, no way. And then we would all meet after school and we all basically started acting like a coven where we would come over and we would have like our composition books, literally composition books, and we would write down like spells and stuff. And then guess what? So I realized when we were all together, every time we went to hang out, I was like serious. I was like, oh no, I want to like do this. Like, let's get into like, I was like the serious witch where the other ones were just like, I guess we're doing it for fun or whatever. And then they got done or bored with it, or they're like, okay, I don't want to do this no more. But they didn't tell me that. So then they all turned against me, went to the guidance counselor at school, and then like try to turn in the books and like basically like tattletale being like, oh yeah, she's doing this, she blah blah blah. And then literally because at school, because I was the quiet good girl that like made no problems, even though there was three girls against me, they did not believe him whatsoever. I was like, oh no, they're making this up. I have no idea. I was legit like lying through my teeth so calmly that they were like, oh no, y'all need to like stop harassing Natasha. Like, leave her alone. She's a good like y'all just need to go your separate ways. And then we did. So basically at the end of that, they destroyed their books and I continued my grimoire and like all that stuff. But I was just thinking like, wow, they were really like just bored and fake and they really tried to turn against me. And I was like, yeah, that's not what's about to happen. And then one of the other guy students in my class, he found out because eventually he'd be like, what are y'all doing? Like, we at the playground, like, doing weird witch stuff, like, and sitting in circles and stuff. And then eventually, when I stopped hanging out with them, he was like, are you a witch? And then it was always like my thing where I would like intimidate him being a witch, where I'm like, yep, you better stay away from me. I'm gonna like, so like for the whole year, he was like terrified of me being like, oh God, like you're about to do some brujeria on me or some shit. Like, so that was always hilarious to me because I was like, wow, that was actually the lesson that told me, okay, I'm going to be a solitary witch until I can find a legit serious other, like whether it's older or like my age. I realized they were not serious, even though they were like, oh yeah, this is cool, because there's a lot of those witches too where like they think it's mainstream or they just want to get into witchcraft because of one spell that they think that they heard or saw like on some TV show. So I was in it for real, and that just is so funny to me because I'm like, wow, like I'm spiritual protected, y'all were not about to play me. And yeah, they even brought like legit proof, like, and it did not matter. They were like, no, this, like, I just think that's hilarious. So
That reminds me of my favorite quote, the way you handled it and what the way the teachers reacted. I always portray myself as the soul of innocence. Oh shit, I can't believe I can't remember it. I've forgotten it. That's the worst. It's gone. Anyway, it says I always portray myself as the soul of innocence so I can do sneaky shit. That's not the quote, but that's the gist of the quote. Darn it. Now I gotta go look it up. Anyway, you want to craft a spell with me?
ooh, like legit.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Okay.
not. I don't do things where I would actually expect it to do anything, but I like working with other people because one, it teaches me how to work with other people because I'm also solitary, and two, it shows the audience how spell crafting can work,
Oh, I
like
love
different ways of
that.
doing it.
Yes. Okay. So what's the intention then?
Yay. I don't know. What do you want to do? We can do like home protection or personal protection or hygiene.
Let's think of home protection because that's something I think everyone
Okay.
can benefit from. Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Okay.
I think that's everybody's. Unless they're doing a love spell, it's everybody's first spell.
Yeah, some type of protection for sure, I
So
feel like. Yeah.
okay, um, so I'm like a dirt witch, and I just wander around my yard or my studio, and I think, okay, I need to do blah blah blah. I want to have something that will like be protective and push people away, and I want something that is like strong. Those are so I would walk around and look for things that do that, in my opinion. Like, I live in Arizona, so there are cactuses everywhere, and I would use cactus
Yes.
vines
I love that.
for
Yeah.
that's one thing I would do. How do you do yours?
So when I think about crafting a spell, my first thing is what's the intention? And then what are the elements that line up with that intention? So that could be timing. That could be, like what are physical properties of things that would work well, colors. So when I think of like protection, I think of, like, like maybe the moon is getting bigger, like fruition, like strong peak energy. Or maybe I think of like banishing negative influences. I think of like, the moon getting smaller. You know what I mean? Because I know new moons are good for banishing work as well. Um, and then I also think about, okay, well, what lines up with like protecting the home? Maybe I'll think of maybe creating an energetic perimeter around my space, whether that's the four corners, maybe activating a tree outside my home to become like a home guardian. There's so many different ways to protect your space, but that's like the mindset behind it is, okay, how do I, keep emphasizing and boosting or lining up with this specific intention and amplifying that. And that's what I think about when crafting your spells, just all these different elements that resonate or match up or just boost that. And then you're like, okay, well, what feels best in that combination?
One of my friends is like you in that she interacts with crystals, and she got some really big chunks of stuff, and she put it like in a perimeter around her home, and they like
Mm-hmm.
act like an alarm. So if something crosses that barrier, she can